Next up in the show, I wanted to talk a little bit about, let me go to my notes here. Trump's tariffs. So he is proposing a 10% tariff on all imports, along with from 10% additional to what has already been in place with China, and then also 25% specifically targeting goods from Mexico and Canada. And his argument is that it will bring back jobs to America, reduce dependence on foreign manufacturing, and also his rationale for it, according to his post on True Social, is that he wants Mexico and Canada to stop the drug and crime and fentanyl pouring in from the borders, and the tariffs are going to stay in place until they do that. I was shocked when he was talking about Canada, fentanyl and drugs from Canada. I'm just like,
Yeah, I mean, it's like
I was
I
just
wonder
in
if
Canada this summer. Canada's nice.
I wonder if Canada's just being like, what did we do? Because like they have less illegal immigration to here than we do to there. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Have you seen
it's
that?
like I don't know
Have you
what he
seen that
doesn't like.
50 cents meme when he was like, I turn on the computer. He said F50. I said, what do you say F me for? Like, I feel like that is Canada. Canada's like, what did I do?
I
And
have
I
no
feel like
idea.
the US and Canada have great relations.
Yeah, trying to get to that guy's head on this one. The only thing I could come up with is when people start calling him racist again for Mexico, he can be like, "Look, I banned the white people too, so not
Yeah, it's
racist."
just an
I don't
insurance
really
policy.
know, but it's so ironic that there's so many people who voted for him over the price of eggs and how expensive things are, and he's about to just make pretty much everything expensive. You know?
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. I do want to talk about this a little bit. I want to show you this clip too that you mentioned, everything being more expensive, and then we'll come back and discuss.
sure.
If you voted for Trump because you thought he was going to bring grocery prices down, I have some very bad news for you. A lot of our produce comes from Mexico. 2/3 of the tomatoes that Americans purchase are from Mexico. 90% of the avocados that they purchase are from Mexico, just to mention two examples. So that guac is definitely going to cost extra. If you voted for Trump because you thought he was going to bring down the cost of housing, a lot of our lumber, cement, other materials comes from Canada, which means that construction costs are going to go up. Not to mention all of the ways he's going to roil the U.S. auto industry, because a lot of autos cross borders in North America multiple times before they're ultimately finished and sold to consumers. Not to mention the fact that a lot of U.S. manufacturers purchase inputs, intermediate goods like metals and cement and other things from Canada, from Mexico, and not to mention even the retaliation that we should expect. All of which is going to be very bad for consumers, not to mention, again, many of the U.S. workers that Trump allegedly wants to help.
What about tequila?
Tequila, I would bet that that's going to suffer too.
I'm out. Count me.
That was Catherine Rempel, Washington Post economist and CNN contributor. Some of the things that I want to mention, let me grab my other notes here, on goods that come in from Canada. I was actually surprised when we were doing research for this show tonight. Oh, where is it? All right, crude oil and petroleum products, natural gas, vehicle and automotive parts, aluminum and steel, lumber and wood products, paper products, machinery and industrial equipment, food products, aircraft and parts, and also electricity. So, fun fact, there are, let me find my other notes. Oh my gosh, everything is kind of all over the place. So, I did not know this, but we import electricity from Canada. It's technically an import. Uh, the northern states rely on electricity from Canada, hydroelectric power. So, a large portion of electricity imported from Canada comes from hydroelectric plants, providing clean and renewable energy. A lot of people are concerned about, you know, climate action, cross border transmission lines. So, New York and Quebec have an intersouth. The New York Quebec intersouth allows significant energy trade between those two regions. New England and Quebec, New Brunswick supplies power to states like Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. The Manitoba Hydro exports hydroelectric power to the Midwest, and power flows to help stabilize electricity supply in Michigan. So it's not just food and manufacturing and also just, tangible products in your hand. It's also light bills that are going to go up, which I didn't know. That shocked me. But
Yeah.
things from Mexico: avocados, tomatoes, berries, peppers, limes, beef, pork, shrimp, corn products, beans, cheese, tequila, and mezcal, canned vegetables, and tropical fruits. 90%
Yeah.
of avocados are imported from Mexico. I researched to see if those can grow here in the US, and they can in California and Florida. However, um, they rely on imports from Mexico when they are out of season here in the US.
Oh God. Like I was born and raised in Texas. I'm Hispanic. I ate a lot of avocados growing up, and the thing is avocados in Texas are so much more affordable than they are here in Nebraska, and now
Mm.
that's going away for all of them down there too. Like I really hope somebody, like as soon as he sent out that truth, uh, conservative tweet, whatever, I hope somebody went to him and be like, you can't do that. Like you do not want to do that. And I hope that they figure out a way to give him some kind of out, because I don't think Trump is the one to admit defeat. He's always got to like come up with some kind of like excuse as to why he didn't do something he said he was going to do. But Trump, please take any excuse to take the L on this one. Whatever. Like, I don't care. Just back down, bud.
So, what kind of potential domestic impacts this is going to have? So, higher consumer prices, number one, obviously, inflationary pressure, supply chain disruptions. So, businesses that rely on imported components like car manufacturers and tech companies may face higher costs and delays, leading to potential layoffs and price hikes. Um, this is just going to be passed on to the consumers. He masks
Mhm.
this as a punishment on foreign governments, specifically Mexico. Talks about fentanyl pouring in from Mexico, talks about gangs and criminals coming in from Mexico, and that this is going to be in place until Mexico gets that under control from their migrants coming over.
Mhm.
However, with the political implications, obviously, as the economist there was just saying, the trade wars that this is going to cause. You shared something about that in our group chat. Can you talk about it a little bit, Tommy? I don't know if you read into it a whole lot with
I
Mexico.
did. I talked about retaliation.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mexico's president was like, "Fine, go ahead. We're gonna also pass retaliatory tariffs on you too." And it's just like we've known from history that there are some issues, some instances in which tariffs are like applicable. Like you should use them. It's to protect a strategic
Mhm.
industry here, you know. Um, but yeah, it's typically when you pass a tariff for no good reason, like there's a trade war, kind of Cold War sort of thing to see who backs down first.
It's
So
like
we'll
playing a
put
game of chicken.
yeah, and they'll be like, "Well, we have to pass a retaliatory tariff because we gotta get them to back down." I mean, there's no way we can just let them have a tariff and not do anything about it. So, I mean, that's
Mhm.
just the slippery slope. It's just gonna keep on spiraling out of control before somebody breaks. And at this point, I think it would be us who breaks first because, we're complaining about the cost of eggs and sort of thing. It's just like, you think eggs are expensive now? Well, your softwood lumber from Canada, which goes into most of our housing projects, that's going to go away. Housing is going to be even more expensive, and it's barely affordable for our generation anyway. So it's just like, I really hope he's just blowing smoke. But also, there's that part of my head, the intrusive thoughts that are just like, do it. You won't do it. Do it.
So obviously, a lot of people have talked about Biden leaving in place a lot of the tariffs that Trump had in place for China. Somebody said on Facebook earlier today was like, you guys are you're complaining about tariffs, but you didn't even feel the Biden tariffs, but the tariffs that were left in from it. So they call them the Trump Biden tariffs.
Yeah.
Um, so the Trump era tariffs from 2018 to 2020 primarily targeted specific goods like steel, aluminum, and Chinese tech products. They were part of a trade war strategy, as you mentioned, to pressure China into negotiating better trade terms. So the ones that Biden left in place, as he's kept many of them, his administration has softened their impact by issuing targeted exemptions to reduce strain on industries like manufacturing and agriculture, so that consumers aren't feeling a lot of this cost being passed on to them. Um, but his new proposal, Trump, would be across the board without exceptions, and a broad approach could have detrimental economic consequences for people.
Mhm.
You know, when you start talking about people feeling inflation at the grocery store, it's going to get worse. You're going to start feeling it with your light bill. You're going to start feeling it in ways that you didn't think that you were going to feel it before. And in that longer segment on CNN, they were talking about how people are already feeling this. Companies allegedly are canceling Christmas bonuses. Stores have come out and companies have put out like AutoZone. Um, geez, I can't think of all top of my head. AutoZone, Walmart, a bunch of other corporations that have talked about having to raise prices or purchase things in bulk that are imported for their products ahead of time. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, what are your overall thoughts on this? Like, what would you say like a year from now, if all of this is in place, what does a year from now look like to you?
I mean, well, no new. I mean, all those we. I mean, here in Lincoln, we have a lot of housing projects that are going on. And I remember during
Hmm.
the pandemic, when the pandemic began, and then lumber quickly got shut off, we just saw like housing just development just stop like in place. We just saw
Yeah.
houses that were just not even half built just stay there for years. It's going to be pretty glaring, you know, when we see all these groceries prices go up. I just can't. I honestly, I'm just kind of flabbergasted here, and I just hope it's something he threw out of his head, and then people quickly went to him and said, "Okay, no, you're not going to do that." And I just really hope he backs down, because it's just like it's so unthinkable that he would place these tariffs on our trade partners who've actually been really good trade partners to us for
Hmm.
a long time for apparently no reason. He says it's because of fentanyl and immigration, and it's just like, well, you know, I mean, there's two halves to the story. Yeah, we're taking the fentanyl and the drugs and we're consuming them here, but we're also sending Mexico a bunch of guns and money so the cartels can, you know, keep on keeping their country a hellhole. And it's just like, this isn't just one side of a one-sided problem. You know, I mean, it's like it gets worse down there because we send them guns and money. So then more people want to come here. And it's just like, if you're just going to ignore that and just say it's because of Mexico, all their fault, let's put a tariff on there, you're going to make things incredibly worse. Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense in my mind how something like that could happen. But, you know, I guess we'll just have to see, man. Yeah, but
And one thing that
you
I
did
just still
mention.
can't. One, sorry, go ahead.
You did mention that like Walmart has already said they're going to start increasing prices in anticipation, and it's just like we're already learning this lesson, and he's not even a president yet. You know,
Yeah.
America going to learn. You're going to get a free. Well, I guess not a free, but you're going to get a lesson in economics, guys.
AutoZone for sure. Columbia Sportswear for sure. Stanley Black and Decker for sure have already said they're
Mhm.
going to come out and raise prices immediately because of this in anticipation. And there's been viral TikToks of people, like I said, allegedly saying that their company is canceling Christmas bonuses this year because they need to buy and stockpile products that are imported from China in anticipation, because at this point it's like we can't just wait and see, like, is he for real or not? Like, they got to be proactive from a business standpoint. That obviously makes sense, right? Like, if something is
Yeah.
coming in that's going to hurt your business, you don't want to wait. You want to be proactive about whatever precautions you want to take. So we will see, you know. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like in a year from now, we're just going to come in just like with a cigarette in our hand, just like, what did he do today? You know, I mean, he's not even the president yet, and he's making these huge changes happen. That's so nuts, man. I've been trying to say like, hey, liberals, let's have strategic caution, and it's just like I'm already becoming a hypocrite there. Like it's just
S-
like I don't.
so okay, follow along my mental gymnastics here, okay? Because I was
I
thinking,
got it.
like, how could this make sense? Frame tariffs like it's a thing that's going to punish another country, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, Say that we're getting screwed over by XYZ. These are the problems you're going through. These are the countries responsible for it. So putting these tariffs is going to punish them. You plan on passing tax cuts for the wealthy and for people. You throw in regular people saying, yeah, I'm going to give you tax cuts. You go and start slashing the federal government just take a hacksaw and a chainsaw to it and a wrecking ball and start, cutting and eliminating departments, firing all these people, trying to eliminate $2 trillion. However, when Harris was campaigning, she was saying, his tariffs are a tax on the American people.
Mhm.
Do you think all of this is just to help fund the tax cuts for the 1%?
Maybe he thinks that, but it's just that's not how a tariff works. But
No. I don't mean just the tariff. I mean like the tariffs, the prices being passed on to the consumer, because that
yeah,
tariff gets paid to the federal government. You want to
for sure.
slash the federal government, right, in half. You want to like reduce as much spending, probably and that's what I'm saying. Is all of this part of a bigger picture to try to just fund the tax breaks for the 1%?
I mean, I bet some of that's into it. They just want to hollow out government so they can keep more of their money and, not have to deal with regulation and stuff. But in the end, I don't know if Trump even really has a plan besides revenge, taking on the quote unquote deep state. I mean, and then, I think he's had a lot of people come in and flatter him, people who've wanted to gut the administrative state is what they call it for a very long time.
Mhm.
I don't really, yeah, I just think it's just a combination of he thinks that the government was out to get him, and now he has to go take an axe to it. And then also he's got flatterers from people like the Heritage Foundation coming in and saying, hey, we're mad at the government too. Let's join forces and just really tear everything up. At the end of the day, he does want to cut taxes for a lot of the rich people who funded his campaign. But I think some of it's just like chaos. Like he wants revenge. People are in there, flattering him to do things they've always wanted to do. I mean, it's yeah, it's really hard to get into the mind of Donald Trump.
Yeah.